everybody, welcome back to Healthy Togetherness. In this episode, we're going to be learning the technique of shallow poaching. Now, shallow poaching is a moist heat cooking method, and as opposed to the deep poaching method, in which the food is fully submerged in the poaching liquid, in shallow poaching, the food is only partially submerged, usually about 1/2, 3/4 of the way up the side of the food, and the poaching liquid can then be turned into a sauce to go along with whatever it is that you were cooking. So today, what we're going to be poaching is salmon. We're going to be shallow poaching the salmon and then turning that poaching liquid into a sauce. Now, to go along with our salmon, I'm going to be making 3 different types of side items. They're going to be fantastic, colorful, and they'll absorb the sauce really well. The 3 side items that I'm making for our salmon today are just suggestions. I like them because they're colorful, they were on sale at the store, and one of them I actually got for free because someone gave me some split peas. So I'm going to be turning that into a side item. So let's get started. Alright, so I have some pre-packaged salmon over here, and I have no objections to using pre-packaged salmons, or the ones that are in these vacuum sealed packets. Some of them, this brand doesn't show that it is, or whether or not it is been flash frozen on the boat right after, as soon as it was caught. But again, if they're very convenient, what you do is they're usually stored in they're frozen when you buy them at the store, and just leave them in the refrigerator and let them thaw for about 24 hours before you use them, right? And they are fine for what we're doing today. They are actually fine. In the future, I will show you how to use fresh salmon, but I wanted to really show how convenient these are. They're already portioned sized for us, and the only challenge that I have with these things is that they're inconsistent. At least this brand is inconsistent with the individual portions. So these 2 people, whoever gets these 2, are going to be really happy, and then the guests who get these portions, they're going to be like, wait, what happened? So I have to actually buy 2 packages in order to get 4 decent sized portions for our demonstration today. Alright. So one more thing that I wanted to share with you before we open up these packages is we talk a lot about presentation, how we eat first with our eyes. Right? We take a look at our food, and if it looks wonderful and appetizing, then it makes the meal even better. And so on salmon, you'll have 2 sides to it. One side has got this little dark mark, and then the other side is it doesn't have that. So the dark mark is the side that we're going to hide. We're going to put it this way, and this is going to be our presentation side. So okay, we'll go ahead and actually, before we unpack that, I'm going to set this aside. So when we're poaching or cooking things in liquid, we have a tendency to go ahead and add more flavor to that by putting herbs into the broth. So instead of just putting the herbs into our water and then straining it later on, we have 2 ways of adding herbs to our poaching liquid, or our liquid. And one is to take all these herbs, if they're plentiful and easily bound, you can just take them, wrap it with a string, and it's going to be called a bouquet garni. And when you're done using the herbs, all you do is just hold the string and everything comes out. In this case, we're going to have thyme also. I could have used fresh thyme, but I had thyme that are dried, readily available. And we also have some we also have some whole peppercorns here So what we're going to do is what's called a sachet apiece, and it is going to be like a tea bag. So we have a cheesecloth here. Let's go ahead and put that in the center. We have parsley, whole peppercorns, thyme, and bay leaves. You can use other herbs that you would like. Sometimes people like to put cloves in it. I wanted to keep it really simple. So what you do is just take it and tie. Okay, take the other corner and tie it off also. And there we go. We could also put a piece of string on this, and whoops. We could also put a piece of string on this and really make it a tea bag, but we can just go ahead and get some tongs and lift it out. It's fine. Okay, so that is our sachet piece. We'll put that aside for now, and we'll go ahead and get our next step. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to flavor it with onions. And yes, I could have chopped some onions and put it in the bag, but what I want to do is I want to chop up onions fine enough. Be careful, remember to remove the stem end. Keep the root end intact because that's going to hold our onion together. Hold it and cut through as close to the edge as possible, but don't cut through the edge, otherwise it'll fall apart. Okay. As fine as we can. Set that aside. Alright, we are ready. Now I've got all the chopping done. We got our onions. What we're going to do with the onions is we're going to put the onions at the bottom of our pan, and what's going to lift up our salmon to prevent it from sticking, but it'll also add some flavor to our sauce. Right. So let me go ahead and get our pan going. I'll be right back. Okay, I have a new toy. I have an induction cooktop here, and that way the camera can just stay in position and you can see all the activities more easily as opposed to my regular stove. So that's why I have this here. Okay. So we've got a skillet over here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our finely chopped onions on the bottom. This is going to do two things for us. It's going to flavor the poaching liquid, and at the same time it's going to lift our salmon off the bottom so it doesn't stick. I don't want that big one. Okay. And as far as our salmon goes, we're just going to go ahead and open up the vacuum seal. I've had this in the refrigerator. It was frozen when I first started. I had it in the refrigerator and let it thaw for 24 hours, and now they're nice, they're cold. And then after or before I started this, I took them out of the refrigerator and let them kind of thaw in room temperature for about 30 minutes so that they're room temperature. They're a little bit colder than room temperature now, but take them out of the refrigerator so that they warm up a little bit. Okay. Putting our presentation side up, by the way. Our presentation side is this side without the lateral line, that brown spot there. This is a tail end. Someone folded over. Okay, you know what? We'll work with that. It was folded over at the tail end, and then someone folded it over to make a smaller, to make a one piece. So that was actually a great idea. We're going to go ahead and keep it that way, even though we have a little the lateral line right there. It'll be fine. Okay. Wipe my hands. And that's our setup. Now earlier we made a sashayed piece. This is a little tea bag with parsley, bay leaf, thyme, and peppercorns in it. I'm going to go ahead and tuck that over here. Now shallow poaching, again, is a moist heat cooking method. And the idea is we're going to cook this into our poaching liquid, which in this case is going to be comprised of clam juice and some wine and some lemon. If you don't want to use wine, first of all, the wine, all the alcohol is going to evaporate because as we're making the sauce, we're going to reduce this to nearly dry, and then so all the alcohol is going to evaporate. But if you're still you still don't want to use any of the alcohol, just use more clam juice, and the acidity will come from the lemon. The wine does provide flavor as well as acidity. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take our clam juice. Make sure you shake it, because you have a lot of sediments or flavorings at the bottom that always settle at the bottom. So shake it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have our poaching liquid come to about a little above halfway above these fish. So this is a quarter cup. I'm going to put a little bit quarter cup of that first. Okay, that's that. Okay. And then a little quarter cup of this. I wanted 50-50 even mix of clam juice and wine. Okay, now a little more clam juice. Okay, so that's about halfway up. So that's about half a cup of clam juice and half a cup of wine. And then we're going to take our lemon. squeeze about half a lemon in it. Okay. And then we're going to start it. So I'm setting my induction cooktop here to 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and you'll notice one thing that's different between this method and the deep poaching method that we did earlier is in the deep poaching method I started with our broth already at 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and then when I put the eggs in it, it dropped the temperature of the eggs dropped the temperature down to about 170. So, and poaching is between 160 and 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So by putting the cold or the room temperature egg in the 180 degree broth, the temperature of the broth dropped down to our poaching range. In this case, we're starting off with cold. We're starting off with a cold poaching liquid, and we're going to bring the temperature up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cover it. Either way is fine. It really depends on what you're cooking, which way would be better. If you were cooking if you were going to poach a whole salmon, for example, all right, and we wanted to deep poach it. In other words, we're not going to use the poaching liquid as a sauce or anything. We wanted to deep poach it. You would put that whole salmon in cold poaching liquid and then bring the temperature up. That way, the whole fish cooks at about the same rate. If we were going to if we were going to deep poach it, the whole fish, and start it off with a warm poaching liquid already, what will happen is the outside of that fish is going to cook a lot faster than the inside of the fish, and by the time the inside of the fish is cooked, the outside would be overcooked. Right. So here we want we're starting off with a cold poaching liquid, and the whole thing will kind of cook it all at the same time, as opposed to the outside just cooking first. Now you might be wondering, okay, so the half of this fish is going to be cooking in the poaching liquid. What about the top half? How is that going to get cooked? That's a brilliant question. We're actually going to need a cover for this. Okay, so we're going to need a cover for this. When I purchased this, the induction cooktop came with a pan, but it didn't come with a cover. So I'm going to have to resolve that later. But for today, we're just going to cover it up with foil. And what's going to happen is, as the poaching liquid gets warmer, it's going to create steam. The foil is going to trap the steam inside of the skillet, and that's how the top part of the fish gets cooked. Okay, I'm going to let this sit. This will probably take, say, 20 to 30 minutes to cook all completely. So we'll be back. been about 20 minutes or so. All right. Let's take a look at the temperature here of our now. Even before I take the thermometer and check the temperature, I know that we're in the poaching because one, I can see steam coming up. I don't know if the camera can catch that, but I can see a little bit of steam coming out. But I also do not have boiling. I don't have any kind of rolling bubbles coming up, any bubbles coming up. But I do see some movement in the water. I see the onions are kind of moving up slowly, but no bubbles. Right? So I know that we're gonna be below 180 degrees. Let's take a look here. Yeah, but about 70. Okay, we are looking good. All right, our salmon is not quite cooked yet, not completely. Right. One thing that I would really like to mention: if we were cooking this fish in a higher temperature, in the simmering range between around 185 degrees, all this white stuff that you see here, this is called albumin. It's basically the same thing as the egg white, but it's being pushed out by the muscles of the fish, because as muscles cook, they have a tendency to contract, and the higher the temperature that they're cooked in, the more the muscles will contract and the more liquid will get pushed out. That's why protein, if overcooked, becomes dry, is because the muscles actually push out a liquid. If we were cooking this at a higher temperature, then more of this albumin would be showing up and being pushed out of the fish. So temperature of the fish should be between 145, around 145 degrees. We are almost there. Actually, we're there for that one. This is a smaller piece. I should have checked this a little bit earlier, but yeah, this is definitely cooked. Not quite yet on this one. It is bigger. Not yet on this one. We'll at least double check on this one to make sure. Not quite yet. Okay. It's almost there. Yeah, this one's definitely cooked. So I'll go ahead and take this one out, put it on a plate and cover it. Yeah, this is the tail end, and so as the fish tapers off, it gets thinner and thinner towards the tail end. So this is why this one cooked faster. Okay, so we'll put that there. Again, no agitation. It's just we have the movement of the water, kind of circulating. We're getting a convection action. Lets us know that we are right in the range of poaching. So I'm going to move these towards the center. Get our tea bag there. Okay. We're almost done. And I'm going to cover this. Whoops, there goes that. Okay, we'll be back. Okay, another 10 minutes has passed. Let's take a look at our fish. Yep, it's cooked. Good. All right, they're all cooked. We're done with this. Let's take out our fish. What we're gonna do is clean up the fish a little bit too. Take some of that albumin off, so it looks nice on the plate. And we'll cover our fish and keep it warm. We can discard our sachet de peas, our little tea bag of herbs here. We're going to go ahead and take out our onions. You can leave them if you want to. But okay, we can leave the rest, it's not a big deal. Now to change this into a sauce, we need to concentrate the flavor. And in order to do that, we have to evaporate the water from here. So I'm going to crank up the heat in our cooktop here until this thing boils. And what we're going to do is boil off all of the water. This will become almost dry on the pan, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add cream. We're going to use cream as the carrier for the sauce. So we'll be back. Oh, there it goes. It's starting to boil already. That's fast. Okay, we're just going to let this continue. I'm going to stir it every so often since we have the onions in here. I don't want the onions to burn. It's not going to burn until all the liquid is gone, so we should be fine. But continue with this. Remove the, do not cover it anymore because we want all of that water to evaporate. All right, we'll be back when it gets to nearly dry. Most of our liquids, most of this poaching liquid, actually it's changed its name now. When a liquid has been used in poaching or a cooking process, that liquid is actually no longer called poaching liquid. It's called the Villaescusa. So this Villaescusa that we've reduced is going to be the base of our sauce. And as it gets closer to the point where we have very little liquid, it will have a tendency to burn, so keep an eye on it, lower the temperature. We do not want this to burn. We just want it to reduce. So I'm going to actually change. This is very convenient, this induction cooktop. Okay. So you see why it's, whoops, it needs a pan. Okay, so this is why I was saying that we don't really need to be too concerned about alcohol staying in here because it really evaporates. Still, if you prefer not to use any alcohol at all, just use more clam juice and a little bit of lemon, and the lemon will provide the acidity that the wine was providing. Alright, so now that we have that, I'm going to actually pause this so it doesn't burn anymore, reduce anymore. What we're going to do is we have this concentrated, flavorful liquid at the bottom of the pan, but we need something to carry that flavor through. And what I've chosen to use is cream. Now, oh no, cream, I understand it has a lot of fat, and if we're trying to be healthy here, but cream is actually much more healthy than compared to, say, using butter. And what the cream does, it actually provides two things for us. Cream does not break down when it's boiled, so it allows us to reduce it to the point that it's got a nice consistency of a sauce that we want without breaking down. Milk, if you try to boil it, it'll break down into its solid pieces and water. The same thing with half and half. So heavy cream is ideal, and also cream provides a sweetness. So what we have here, we have the clam juice, and then we have the acidity from the wine, and then we have the acidity from the lemon juice, which provides a lot of flavor, but it's going to lean towards the tart side. Adding cream to it is going to provide a sweetness and give us a nice balance. How much of this cream do we want? I've got 4 pieces here of fish that I need to coat. If I wanted to have each of them with maybe a 1/4 cup of sauce, then I'm going to put half a cup of sauce of cream into this, because it'll reduce by about 50%. So if I put in half a cup of sauce, if I put in half a cup of heavy cream per fish that I want to cover, and it reduces by half, then I'll have my 1/4 cup of sauce that I want. So I'm actually going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put the 1/4 cup. Okay. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the 1/4 cup, and then double that. 1, 2, 3, 4-ish. All right. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn this back on, and what we're going to do is reduce this by half. Okay, now we're going to just go ahead and allow this thing to reduce. Do not cover it. Allow all the water to evaporate, and also because it's cream, if it's covered, it'll have a tendency to overflow from here. So just keep an eye on it, and we're going to reduce it almost to 50%, actually maybe more like 60% or so. because at 50% it actually is pretty thick, and we want the sauce to be a little bit more like a sauce as opposed to something that's consistency of a syrup. All right, so we'll come back. Okay, our sauce has reduced quite a bit. I had to lower the temperatures to keep it from reducing any farther, but what we have here is, take a look. Okay, now it holds that line. It doesn't drip down, and we have a nice kind of a nice sauce. It's not very thick yet, but I don't want it to be very syrupy, like I said earlier. So it's a nice sauce. Okay, I am happy with that. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Very nice. Still tangy, but not too tangy. Not lemony. And the cream provided a lot of sweetness. Great. Okay. Well, I am happy with that. Let's go ahead and plate. Sure. Because I want to warm up our fish a little bit. It's still warm. We'll just go ahead and do that. And then any kind of liquid that was left in the plate, put that back. It'll make a wonderful sauce. Oh, addition to the sauce. Turn this off really quick. I'm going to put it aside. Okay. Turn it back on. Let that go. We'll warm up the sauce. All right. Okay. Now, in the first, in the previous poaching video, the one with the deep poaching, I mentioned that poaching is a technique that really does not add any kind of color to our food because it doesn't get at a higher temperature. Poaching doesn't get enough high enough temperature to do any kind of caramelization. It doesn't do any kind of Maillard process, which gives us that appetizing brown color that we like. So normally we would go ahead and just take the sauce and pour it right over the fish or whatever it is that we want, and that kind of adds color. It's also the reason why I chose these side items, because they bring out a lot of color to our dish. Right? But in this case, I like the color of the fish. I like the way that the fish looks. So I'm not gonna take the time to cover it up. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of the sauce and I'm just gonna add it to our side items here. Give them some of that flavor. And one note, you really don't need to use this as your side item. Again, mashed potatoes would be great, spaghetti would be great, what else? Quinoa would be amazing, and broccoli. Broccoli would add a lot of color, and it's porous enough that it'll absorb all of that flavor. What else? Spinach. Just wilt some spinach, and that would be great. Okay, next is, let's see, which fish? This one, I like this one. It's a nice color. Nice big hefty fish. Alrighty. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit of sauce to it just to give it some, there we go. But not enough to mask it. Okay. Put this aside. Put these aside. Okay. And we're going to add a little bit of parsley. I don't even think I'm going to chop it up. Just add some parsley here. Here and there. Okay. And then we're going to add a lemon. So for those who want some more lemon. So take your lemon, cut it this way. We'll give a fourth of a lemon, so we'll cut it this way too. Take off the end to make it look nice, and take off the center. Alright. Put that over here. That looks good. Alright. And wipe down the plate. Ah, much better looking. Okie dokie. And there we have it. That is our shallow poached salmon, and we made a cream sauce out of the poaching liquid. And we have our 3 side items. We have our split peas, spaghetti squash, and roasted red cabbage. Right. Let's give it a try. Nice. That is delicious. The salmon is moist. The sauce is amazing. Cabbage is great. I don't even need this extra lemon. It is so good. All right. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you find the video entertaining. More importantly, I hope you find the video useful and that you will use this cooking technique in your culinary adventures. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video, and please leave some comment for me. Just let me know how things are going and if you tried this recipe. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye. Yeah, that's right. Thank you.